City Council for February 3rd, 2025. Please all vote on the pledge of allegiance. We will be ready for duty to protect the
Mayor Pro Tem Liz Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Scott Funk,
Present.
Councilmember Lorraine Worthy,
Present.
Councilmember Maria Orozco,
Present.
and Mayor Jose Rios.
Present. First up on the agenda is the presentation of the wastewater treatment program update.
Yes, Mayor Rios, council members. Joined here with Megan Panofsky of MNS Engineers. She and I are going to step through the slide deck that's in your packet. So we can go for full screen.
And Mr. Mayor, while that's happening, I just wanted to call on the record, the both youth council members our youth council commissioners are present as well.
Great. Thanks, Estella. All right, so next slide, please. So it starts off with these are the major milestones that we accomplished last year. I'm just going to list or mention a couple of them. Number one, high on the list was securing our SRF loan. That was about 3 years of effort. We received that in mid-July of this year. $29 million loan to build the industrial wastewater system. Next, the highlight would be number 3, which is finalizing and bidding the conveyance system. So that was May and August of last year. We opened bids on August 6th, awarded at your September 3rd meeting. And item 4, the construction of the industrial wastewater conveyance that started on Monday, November 4th. And of course, the last one that I want to highlight is number 5, finalizing and issuing the treatment facility. We wrapped up 2024 doing that. We actually issued that for bid on January 15th. Next slide. So as mentioned, SRF loan, state of California, low interest rate, exact number yet, $28.8 million. That's backed by our sewer rates that the council adjusted a year ago and went into effect January of 2024. And then we also, we have a construction loan that we secured because it's, as we receive the payments from the pipeline contractor and coming up will be the treatment facility contractors, there's a bit of a time gap. We have to pay the contractor within 30 days. We have submitted 3 SRF claims and we've received money for the first one that took 2 months, which was actually not bad at all. So it's when we stretch to say 3 or 4 months that really affects the cash flow. And as we get into the next contract, which is a much bigger contract, that'll be even more important. Next slide is the easements for the conveyance system. So, you can read this. We have the temporary construction easements, the right of entries. There's 6 different property owners out there, the easements, and then the public utility easements are actually for the properties that are within the business park. We have recorded easements with 4 of the property owners. We're still grinding away on 2 more, but we were able to accomplish that work through rights of entry. So actually that work has moved past those parcels. And with that, I'm going to turn. Next slide, please. With that, I'm going to turn over the rest of the presentation to Megan.
Thanks, Patrick. So we moved into finalizing the design of the industrial wastewater conveyance pipeline project. We went ahead and did a constructability review of the design as is, just because it had been, sitting for quite a bit of time. So we went ahead and updated those drawings. So we got the bid specs finalized and we went out to bid. So we did go out to bid and opened on August 6th of 2024. We received 5 bids, good spread, very competitive bids. We did award to the low bidder, who was Sierra Construction and Excavation. And that contract was awarded on September 3rd, executed on the 24th of September, and they started construction right away. So on November 4th, we hit the ground running. Next slide, please. And several of you, if not all of you, were able to attend the groundbreaking ceremony that we held for this project on November 22nd out there in the field. And we did the gold shovel ceremony, and that was fantastic. As of right now, we are at 35% complete on this job. So I actually have updated numbers from what you're seeing up on the slide. We are actually at 6,200 linear feet of pipeline installed and 6 manholes.
Nice.
So they are getting to work. I don't know if Patrick may have mentioned, but we do have 2 crews out there. At some times, I believe they did have 3. So we're doing quite well. The current contract ends in June of this year. However, they're tracking completion in May. So
Nice.
early completion and on budget, and we're going to keep it that way. Next slide. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So that being said, we've turned our attention to the industrial wastewater treatment facility. We also dove into that and did a constructability review on the treatment facility drawings. And also updated it for current building codes. The structural design was updated. Also incorporated the city's new SCADA standards into those bid documents. And we got out to bid as of January 15th. So we are currently out to bid with opening anticipated on February 26th. And assuming bids open 26th, we're looking to be awarding contracts in mid-March and really getting going in April of this year. Next slide, please. So another project that we had going on while we were working on all of that was the municipal wastewater treatment plant's emergency infiltration basin project. I think that this project was definitely a success story of collaboration and action of several different parties, yourselves included. Tiffany Twizzleman raised concerns regarding the infiltration basins at the existing plant. And, you know, we came up with a concept along with Dudek engineers of constructing this emergency infiltration basin on the future phase 2 of the industrial wastewater treatment facility site. We were able to get contractor bids together, the water board's concurrence, and of course, your city council approval. You guys approved that project on December 11th for a not to exceed of $950,000. And we were operational by December 23rd. And we're expecting that anticipated final cost to come in around $550,000. And that contractor that worked on that project was Swift Tectonics. And obviously they got out there and they got the job done. Excuse me. And not only that, but this project did win an award through the APWA Monterey Bay chapter. It was awarded the Project of the Year Environment Award. So congratulations. Next slide. Another thing that we have ongoing is that we have submitted for a planning grant for the municipal wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation. So the grant is for a total of $300,000. We just received confirmation that the application is accepted and complete. So we're now in the waiting game of hearing back from the state, but believe we're in pretty good standing on that. And that will be used to look forward to the rehabilitation of the municipal wastewater treatment plant once we're done and operational with the industrial wastewater treatment facility. So this is really looking ahead at what our next steps are. Next slide. So where do we go from here? The 2025 wastewater work plan. Obviously, we're going to continue on with the industrial wastewater system. I'll go into that a little bit more, as well as these other 2 items. Next slide. So specifically on the industrial wastewater system side, we are going to complete the industrial wastewater conveyance pipeline project, as I mentioned, by schedule right now is May of this year. Then we are going to be beginning the construction of the industrial wastewater treatment plant. We will also be applying for and receiving the Regional Water Quality Control Board's permit for operation of that treatment facility. Next slide. So then as far as on the municipal wastewater side, we are going to, once we have the pipeline in place for that we're installing for the industrial wastewater treatment plant, we will use that to convey water to the existing treatment facility. And we will clean, video, inspect, and rehabilitate your existing 21-inch trunk sewer line that is currently taking your flow to the existing municipal wastewater treatment plant. We will be installing additional groundwater monitoring wells at the treatment facility, or the municipal treatment plant. We will start that planning of the municipal treatment plant upgrades and rehabilitation. We'll issue an RFP for a new master plan on the wastewater program. And we'll also look to be upgrading your SCADA system. So that's our plan moving forward. Next slide, please. In addition to the activities on the industrial side and the municipal side, we'll also be adopting an updated sewer ordinance with a pretreatment program for the industrial users. And our plan is, as of right now, to have that in front of you within 2 to 3 months. Next slide. Any questions or comments?
So
Fantastic.
Council, yeah, this is just part of our periodic updates regarding really the biggest, capital program for the city, all about wastewater. And I want to mention, I probably didn't introduce Megan sufficiently. So Megan and M&S Engineers came on board last April as program manager, and Megan is overseeing our efforts. We have weekly meetings to really step through an action item list. There's a lot of moving parts to this. And then she's the construction manager overseeing the construction we have going on now. We have a field inspector, we have a resident engineer, and they'll continue that effort as we get into constructing the treatment facility. That concludes our presentation. Ready for any questions, comments?
Question? Yeah?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on the agenda, we're going to public comment. At this point, any member of the public will address the council. Period not being seen in this, not on the agenda. Council will listen to all comments and continue comments and take action.
My name is Anna Mae Gazo. Do you need my address? I didn't remember. Okay. So as a resident of this community, I'm concerned about people who live here and are worried about potential immigration sweeps by ICE. I know that Soledad had a Know Your Rights workshop for their community last week with Watsonville Law Center and Supervisor Chris Lopez. The Gonzales School District is having one this coming Friday at the high school in the cafeteria at 5:30. I am unaware of the city council, if the city council has done anything to help curtail the effects of such sweeps by ICE in our community. Therefore, I am asking the city council to consider doing these things to make it more difficult on ICE to cause harm in our community. 1, prohibit local law enforcement from making arrests for federal immigration violations. 2, prohibit local law enforcement from being deputized by ICE to enforce federal immigration law. And 3, prohibit the collection or sharing of information about individual immigration status. Thank you.
She must have been reading my thoughts because I'm here for the same thing. This is for Mayor Rios and the rest of the council members, please. My name is Roberta Ruiz Camacho, and I live here in Gonzales. I'm extending that invitation for you to come out to the meeting that we will be having on Friday night at the cafeteria at Gonzales High School. It will be from 5:30 to 7. There will be two well-known immigration attorneys that will be giving out information and giving a presentation to the community to know your rights. With recent changes in immigration laws, many of our residents are concerned for their families, especially their children. We've heard of a lot of children being afraid to go to school because their parents, they might not come back from work. So they're wanting to stay with their parents. We would also like to ask if it is possible if Chief Weiss could be at this meeting, so he can let the community know that where the police department stands on this issue. I was at the meeting in Soledad, and they had the mayor, Ana Velasquez, had her council members there, and Chris Lopez was there. And they had a nice turnout of people. So we're hoping for the same here. We would just like to have some of you there, if we could have you there on Friday night. Again, it'll be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. in the Gonzales cafeteria, the high school. Thank you.
Rosa Rodriguez. And the reason I'm here is I used to work for a school district, and I also volunteered at the school district. I used to work as an interpreter in the state of Washington, and I volunteered many years here in Gonzales. And of course, I'm concerned about the students. And for that, I've advised people, go to a notary public, make sure that you find somebody that you trust to form a guardianship, power of attorney for their education, medical, financial, whatnot, and seek legal counsel. And of course, I do that because, kids are my passion, because I work with kids. But on the other token, I've also been harassed by an undocumented resident. And those people need to be behind jail. Perverts need to be behind jail. Harassers need to be behind jail. Those that stalk need to be behind jail. So I'm all for, protecting our community, the hardworking people, because my parents, came to this country undocumented, and they received their, the residential documents. Hardworking people that, and if my dad got in trouble with the law for a DUI, he was in jail. So, and he knew that if he kept on getting DUIs, he was going to get his papers taken away. So guess what? He learned not to drive drunk. So I think it's a big responsibility to be in this country, and we need to be law-abiding citizens. And of course, the children it breaks my heart because, the children are the ones that pay the consequences sometimes for the parents of not following the rules here. Thank you.
We do. Monica, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, ready. We're good? Okay. I have had so many people.
Can you please identify yourself?
Monica Rico. I'm working for the county. I'm working with so many organizations in South County that they are I literally want to cry right now because you have no idea. The council has no idea. And you know what? I cannot tell you enough how much the disappointment is in the city, because the city has not come forward and told us that community, how they are going to help or let us know how they are going to protect our town. But I'll let you know right now. We need you to step up. Step up. Stop. Just step up. Because you know what? This is the community that helps you. This is a community that is here and we protect each other and we're trying, but you are not letting us because you are so busy trying to please people with money or anything else. But no, yes, we don't have that. Our community doesn't have that. Those people that work in the fields don't have that. We wish we had it so that you could help us, but you're not. And I am just like emotional right now and I am upset. And I am gonna fight and I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna go and be there, everything. Why has not the city opened up and said this? Hey, this is our stand. This is where we're gonna be at. Why? Why? I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm done. We're done. And we are gonna step up and we're gonna do this as much as we can. And
No comments via Zoom.
Yes, we received an email today at 12:15 PM from Sandy Gomez, and it reads as follows. Greetings to the Gonzales City leadership. It is a disappointment, the lack of empathy our Gonzales City leadership lacks towards our community members, documented or undocumented. Our Gonzales constituents account for a diverse background, and not all undocumented persons are or have been of Mexico Latino descent. However, the current political climate has set a tone in targeting point blank a specific demographic of people. If you haven't already noticed that Gonzales has a large number of Mexican Latino community who are either immigrants, first, second, and so on generations, yet no announcement or stance of solidarity in ensuring our community's safety and peace of mind has been issued on the city's behalf for the community members being affected, which leads me to think that the current Gonzales leadership is either privileged or racist or both, and only cares when they or their specific person or race is affected by a political order. May I remind us, unless one is Native American, we're all immigrants or a colonizer in the United States. Do better, Gonzales City leadership.
Any questions or items of which you pulled, you may do so at this time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a couple of things on the warrants.
Okay.
That's item number 5. Clarification.
Some warrants questions, Lorraine, good? Okay. Mr. Funk?
Nope, I reviewed it already.
Ms. Orozco? No, okay. So we'll go ahead and, Philip, go ahead and ask your questions.
Okay, I just have a couple of items on the numerous warrants we have this month. The first one is on our packet, page 27. It is payable number. I don't know which number to take, if it's 2804 or 23. Anyhow, it's to the Monterey County Sheriff Department, fiscal DIV, in the amount of $10,448.71. I would imagine that QE stands for quarter ending September 30th, 2024. Can someone explain what that's for?
Yeah, that's for the county CGIS computer system for CLUTs. It's we piggyback off the county's DOJ line. And that's what the county charges us to have that happen.
Is that a normal quarterly amount that we pay?
Yeah, it's been there for years.
Okay. So we'll probably see another one for the fourth quarter of 24 coming up.
They keep on coming.
They
Going in.
just don't do it in a very timely manner, huh?
No.
Little behind there. The next item is on page 28 at the bottom for US Bank credit card statement, charge in the amount of $6,525.31. Are there a lot of details on that, or is that one charge? So, in seeing this, I see there's 4 line items. Are there 4 credit cards? Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Your questions answered, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second,
Wait.
I suppose you could have asked it earlier, but.
For which-
We'll go ahead and allow you to go ahead and ask for whatever I. You want to ask it now? Okay, go ahead, stand up on the podium, please.
Normally you guys ask the public if you want something pulled, so I wasn't sure. Okay. Again, Rosa Rodriguez. I was looking at the agenda today and I happened to see, I guess there's, how can I say it? I guess it's going to be brought upon the council whether some items from Mayor Park, the California Breeze subdivision.
That's the next item on the agenda.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to ask if when we wanted something pulled so I could comment
Yeah,
on that.
right now it's just the consent agenda.
Okay, just want
Okay.
to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next item on the agenda is the California Breeze Assessment District. Let's start with staff report, please.
Yeah, but-
Rios, yeah, we're,
Okay.
Estella's bringing up a slide deck. But I'll begin. As the council is aware, the city has 8 different assessment districts, and this item is regarding the California Breeze Benefit Assessment District and the Parks and Open Space. Benefit assessment funds within that subdivision, maintenance and operations, streetlights, storm drains, retention basins, maintenance of the roadways. The Parks and Open Space is funding and operations for the landscaping and irrigation systems along Harold Parkway and Meyer Park. The California Breeze Assessment Districts were the first assessment districts established by the city, and they did not include a consumer price index that the other districts do have. So the districts have not kept up over the last 5 to 10 years regarding the district expenses. Last spring and summer, we went through, where are we on? Thank you. So where am I? Number 5. Last spring and summer, we moved through a Proposition 218 process, which is what any public agency needs to do to increase the assessments. And as listed in the staff report, we mailed ballots out to the 320 property owners. 90 of them were returned and only 9 property owners supported increasing the assessment. There was, public education, there were flyers that were mailed out, there were meetings in this council chambers with interested property owners. So in order to basically cut back, well, let's see, the current deficit of the Parks and Open Space is much more serious than the benefit assessment. So that's about on the order of $50,000 a year that we're backfilling with the general fund. The benefit assessment district requires a reduction of approximately $10,000. So in your staff report, thank you. So that's the benefit assessment that's in the staff report. And, just, listed a couple of options. Staff would basically recommend that we look at items 1 and 2. So that's reducing city public works staff level of effort regarding the maintenance, the streets, the signs, the sidewalk. And so that would be on the order of a reduction of about $5,000 a year. And then we would look on item 2 is reduce the funding for street resurfacing projects. That would accomplish the reduction in expenses that would basically cover the deficit. Next slide. So this also in the staff report as the table that lists 5 different options. And so as the council's aware, we contract with Smith and Enright to do contract landscape maintenance, Meyer Park and along Harold Parkway. That cost is, let's see, I know it's on the order of $1,700 a month. If they went from weekly maintenance where they come out here on Friday and do that to bi-weekly, which would take more of their time when they're here, what they've agreed to is a 30% reduction. And so that's would basically reduce costs by the number you can see, $5,750. Basically, what staff would recommend is that we look at items 2, 4, and 5, that we reduce the city staff maintenance efforts regarding the maintenance, Harold Parkway, and the 2 different stormwater basins that we have, and that we reduce the budgets for tree maintenance and replacement. And then item 5 is reduce the budget for the sound wall maintenance and replacement. It's actually a good time to bring this to you because, in April, we'll be moving through the annual assessment district updates, and this information will be fed into the assessment reports or the engineers reports for next year. And that concludes my presentation. Ready for questions? I don't know if
A point of
City
order.
Manager Carmen has anything to build on?
Yeah, I just want to add, one of the points too, we have started collecting fees for organized leagues out there that are using the park as well. It wasn't, happening previously, but we are collecting anywhere from, $200, $400 per league, or organized group. One of the options that you have is to close off the ball field, but I do want to point out that right now it's pretty active. So we are not recommending that one to be the first option. However, we know that eventually may be coming if we don't reduce costs somewhere else. So I think the numbers were out of order to what Patrick shared. He pointed out to, can you repeat them again, Patrick? What you recommended?
Sure. So it'd be number 2, reducing the city staff public works maintenance efforts, landscape areas along Harold Parkway, because we do irrigation repairs and other maintenance activities in addition to what Smith and Enright do, and then the stormwater basins, and then
The wall.
yeah, the wall. So and then reducing the budget for the tree maintenance, which is item 3, and item 4, the budget for the sound wall maintenance, and closing the ball field would be a pretty significant effort, and what one of the downsides would be, it'd be very difficult to reopen that park. It would be very, very costly to reopen a park that's been closed for any period of time. So does that help?
See, I'm still,
They're
Mike,
not
with
the
point
same
of order.
numbers. They're
They're
not
not.
the same numbers.
and I'm not clear on a couple of
on the
things.
packet.
Michael, point of order. Mr. Funk is a resident of that district. I think he needs to recluse himself from this. Sorry, Scott.
Okay, and
Don't want to be a mean.
I understand, Mr. Mayor, and just to understand, so how does the representative of that district being impacted? Just for the community knows, I mean, I'm the elected member of that district. So how does the elected member of that district represent, and in this case, defend what appears to be some actions taken by potentially other council members and the mayor to close down a public park?
Good point. Let Michael, he's our attorney.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
The conflicts that we usually have used to have people recuse themselves are based on financial. impact, right? And so the proposed changes that we would be making would not impact, well, one of the things is, do you live within 500 feet of the park?
500 feet? No,
No.
I'm a couple blocks away.
Okay, so that's the first threshold issue as to whether or not, like, so, you know, your property value may go up or
Mhm.
down as a result of if the park is closed or
Right.
those sorts of things. So you pass, it seems to me, that test in terms of
Mhm.
whether or not you have a true conflict that requires under
Right.
the conflict provisions. The second issue is a little harder to deal with because you are the representative of the district. You should have the right to weigh in on the issues. The decisions that you're making today won't have a true financial impact on you because the assessment is already maxed out, right? We're not talking about reducing the assessments
Yeah.
and we're not talking about so under those circumstances, then I think that you do not need to recuse yourself from
In this item here, I don't believe it's like asking for, it's not asking for action, it's asking for
direction on.
Direction.
Yeah, modifying right.
Right.
So, okay.
And I do have a couple questions for staff if we could.
Yeah. So in other words, yeah,
Public comment, or you want to ask these questions now?
I think it's relevant to ask the questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I think it determines the direction we go here.
Go ahead.
And so I thank you for the report. And I appreciate that we noted there's 8 assessment districts, which, you know, really are narrowed down to 4, right? So California Breeze, Canyon Creek, Cipriani, and the industrial and park. That said, there are parks throughout our entire community that don't have assessment districts. So, and I know the funding for that comes through the city and so forth. So are we also going to consider closing down those parks too, because there's no funding? So I put out, I guess I want to say as a statement to the council, because as I thought through this and heard about this, I think it's ridiculous that we're doing this, but I guess I don't know, I guess I put it to the staff. I mean, so and maybe that's a point of clarification. How do we pay for the maintenance for Central Park? How do we pay for the maintenance for, Centennial? How do we pay for, I mean, just, it was only, 6 months ago, this very council was considering a pop-up park that was going to be absorbed into, the city, the city paying for. So, which are no assessment districts in that area. So I find it honestly a little hypocritical that we want to close a park that's, as noted, is active. People out there every day, soccer leagues, et cetera. So it's anyhow, so.
Yes, please.
So you are correct, Councilmember Funk. The 2 other parks, Centennial and Central Park, are maintained by the city's general fund.
Mhm.
The others, like Canyon Creek and Cipriani, are maintained by the assessment districts,
Mhm.
but the 2 main ones are the city's responsibility, where there are no assessments per se, are maintained by the general fund.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, just to fill in the circle there. So the general fund is every member of the community, which means members of the Canyon Creek community, Cipriani community, and California Breeze community are all paying for those parks as well. So just right as far as general fund. So as being residents in the community. So that's my comments there or questions. Thank you for answering. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff before we open up for Lorraine?
Well, my question is more related to, I'm still not clear on some of this because at the end of your report, you're not really giving us your recommendation. You're asking us what our recommendation is. Now you just told us you're recommending 2 and 4 or whatever it was, and so I'm not clear. I mean, there's a lot here. So I just want to be clear on what staff says and then we can go back and have a discussion.
Estella, are you able to put up the last slide?
Unless I'm not reading it.
No, I think we skipped it over, so it might help to provide a little bit of clarity. There should be another slide to that. Is it not another slide?
It's on
That,
page 33.
Maybe I.
Go back to the last one,
They're not in the same order.
right there. So this is staff's recommendation, and in the chart, it was broken down by amounts. But really, our initial recommendation is to reduce the maintenance level in the subdivision. We're not recommending the closure of the park just yet. We're recommending the reduction of services there. So the maintenance, where Patrick pointed out just some of the cost savings that would bring about if we were able to do that. Also, signage in terms of using the park at your own risk, because the level of maintenance is gonna be deferred and potentially impacted. So, we need to be clear that it is at the one's own risk if they don't intend to use it. Potentially getting volunteers that have said that they're interested in still using the ball field to do some work out there. And then another recommendation is in the future, look at another 282 process for one of the assessments, and specifically the park and open spaces to help us maintain the park piece of it. The chart where it breaks down, it goes much more into detail in terms of what kind of maintenance would be reduced. But our recommendation right now is not to close it. If you want to direct us to look at what that would look like in terms of fencing it off and the cost for that, we can do that. But that's not what is in front of you today. At least that we're recommending.
Just, I'm sorry if I just want, I think what happened is because of the way that we had to do those assessments, it was a big blanket amount and people were shocked by it. And because the time had gone on for so long. Is there a way to do that in more of a smaller increment to the residents? I don't know. That's why I'm just asking the questions.
That was part of the assessment increase, it was spread over.
Yeah, it just
4
seemed like a
5
lot.
years.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
it wasn't just doubling it, it was spread over
A long period of time.
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was the problem. People saw those big numbers and.
And they were shocked and,
Shocked.
yeah, and unfortunately. It's because it wasn't done all those years ago. Is why, instead of having it done incrementally, then people can adjust to it better. So I think there's a little bit of responsibility that we have to kind of bear on that somehow.
So, since there's no more questions for staff,
Okay,
we'll go ahead and
okay.
open this up to the
I-
public. Oh,
I'm trying to.
sorry.
Sorry, Lynn.
I can't find this one over here. I am not in favor of closing any of our parks for any reason. I am okay with reducing costs. Unfortunately, what was on the slides and what was in our packet, the numbers didn't match, so I was like trying to write it down real fast over here, trying to compare it here. I like the idea of reducing the frequency of our contracted landscapers, and looking at other ways where we can reduce costs, maintenance costs. I didn't realize we spent so much on the sound wall. I didn't know we had to replace things, or I don't know. You always see it there, so I just assumed it was always there. But I'm not in favor of closing any park for any reason. But I am okay with reducing a lot of the maintenance costs. I'm not in favor of reducing the funding for the street resurfacing, because I don't want to have to replace tires anytime soon, and I don't think any of our residents do either. So that would be my take, Mr. Mayor.
So can I just ask for clarification, because I heard you, yes, reduce costs, but do not reduce street resurfacing projects, is that correct?
With the do not reduce the funding for the street resurfacing.
Yep.
Look at other ways where we can reduce costs. And again, the numbers that are in our packet don't match up with what was on the slide presentation, especially with regards to the parks and open space numbering.
The last one was just on number 5, but at the bottom versus 3. It was.
Yeah, but it got a little confusing because what I was seeing there and what I was seeing here were two different. When it gets out of order, it's a little confusing. But thank you for the information.
Thank you,
Go
Patrick.
ahead and open this up.
I'm sorry, well, I already reduced it by $28,000, so. But again, it was a little bit confusing, but I just looked at what was being proposed and some of it had to do with, maybe doing one thing but not the other. So again, it's just a matter of what staff recommends. I'm not sure what's involved in replacing, the sound wall, maintenance. What does that entail? I mean, do we need it? Can we do it every 2 years or every 3 years? So that cuts 10,000 right there and other things too, but it's just, just needing more clarity on what specifically would it mean if we didn't do, if we did the storm drains and didn't replace traffic signs. I mean, how much would that cut back? But not large amounts, but they do add up, so.
So let me speak to the sound wall maintenance. It's been several years, fortunately, that we haven't had to replace a panel, but the city is responsible when generally it's a motorist, driving off of 101 and crashing into one of the sound walls. And we sort of had a run on these several years ago where it was either 2 or 3 accidents where we had to replace the panel. So those are precast and the cost has probably doubled in the last 5 or 6 years. And when we had to do this, it was $30,000 a panel. And basically, they're bringing a large crane out and they pick up the panel and slide it into place. But I haven't had to shop for one in quite a while, but it's, probably in the order of $50,000 to $60,000 now.
And
So-
that's at a cost to the city rather than the motorist who ruined the wall?
Because they generally don't have insurance or they've gotten away because maybe they ran into the wall and somehow were able to drive off. Yes, that has happened. We're not able to get financial recovery on the occasions this has happened.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and open this up to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak on this item may do so at this time. Oh, someone's gonna go.
Rosa Rodriguez. One of the things, and I agree with Mr. Funk 100%, is that, yes, it costs money to put it on the ballot. It costs money to print papers. It costs money, to advertise whether we want to increase the assessment. But at the same time, why are we increasing the assessment only for the California Breeze community and not for the community at Central Park? And, my dad doesn't pay taxes for the parks and thank God we played when we were little, but it has to be fair for everybody. It's not, let's pick on California Breeze and let's bring it up again to the council. No, it's discrimination to do it for one area of the town and not the other. So the ones that are not paying, those are the ones that should be charged an assessment. So the money doesn't come from the general fund. And then also in regards to the stormwater basins, I don't think that personally, reducing city staff maintenance efforts in that area, we need maintenance for the stormwater basins. And this letter was sent back in August. This is where the city couldn't get to testing or sampling, I guess, water for whatever reason. And there was what was it? It says that something happened with the water and then it was over chlorinated. And I kept on calling and calling before this letter came. And the reason why I have a very good nose and it's the water smelled. And not only that, but 2 of my family members, myself included, have very sensitive skin. And I had one in the emergency room, urgent care, Taylor Farms, and back and forth to urgent care. So stormwater basins, those have to be maintained. And then in regards to closing the park, as it is, our youth hardly have anything to do in Gonzales. I was, I think, with Ms. Worthy, and when Mr. Worthy was mayor, the seed money for a community center, I think that was back, I don't know, in 2005. My kids, still didn't go to that community center. It's barely being built, and I think my son's gonna be 26 this year, and the other one's 24. So, no, that park should not be closed because our kids need something to do. If not, they're gonna get into drugs, into fights, into gangs, into, other stuff. Unfortunately, Gonzales doesn't do enough for our youth. I have to take him out to Salinas. I have to take him out to Soledad. And I've been waiting for this community center since 2003 or 4. I don't know. I can't remember that much. And also regarding the trees, we're gonna have an atmospheric river pretty soon. I can show you pictures on my phone of very large branches that have fallen from Harold Parkway. I thank Mr. Dobbins because they were pruned once or twice, I believe. But those trees are about 27 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to comment on this item from the public? Seeing no unrushers to the podium, then I will go ahead and ask Stella, do we have any comments via Zoom?
No comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Mary, do you have any comments?
No comments via email.
Thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close the public comment period and bring it back to council discussion. Mr. Funk, I agree with you that it doesn't seem fair, but Mr. Martinez, if he was in the room, would argue that, you know, well, why is it fair for all the new development to get wastewater treatment plant paid by the residents on this side of town and not the residents on that side of town? Things in California have changed dramatically. You've seen this. Taxes have changed. It used to be for Prop 13, they continue to go up and basically everybody paid for everything. Cities had to get creative, and the way they got creative was to create those new subdivisions with the assessment district, because that's the only way they were gonna get enough money to pay for roads, repair, lights, parks. If it's anybody's fault, it's all of our faults, because I can tell you the majority of the folks approved and voted for Prop 13. Certainly, you know, I know people that are paying peanuts, but they bought their homes a long, long time ago as compared to people that now buy. I mean, prime example, I have a house that I paid $320,000 for. I mean, the poor guy across the street is finished paying $755 for his house. Not much different than mine, but he's probably paying at least twice as much as taxes that I am. It's the way it works. I wish it was something more equitable, more friendly to everybody, something that we could all share in, but cities had to be creative to create these new subdivisions. With this new subdivision that we're envisioning, staff has been spending, I can't even begin to fathom how many hours of legal time deciding how roads are gonna be paid for, sewer lines, etc., water lines, etc., the parks. It just goes on and on. If we don't have these creative financing methods, we'll never get housing. The reason these houses on this side are the way they are is these are all pre-Prop 13. In essence, they've been paying for those parks for a long, long time, and they continue to. Problem is that now this, if you will, the old side of town is also starting to begin to try to pay for some of the stuff on the new side of town. And that's where the rub is. If I'm on this side of town, yeah, I could use that park over there. Do I? Probably not. How many people do you see that really use all the parks? I mean, maybe my grandkids, but most of the city activities are at Central Park. So I do partially agree with your idea that it's unfair, but if it wasn't for that assessment district and the way it was initially set up, it would be probably more California Breeze. You know, the state that was made, and I'm not gonna throw rocks at anybody or anything, is that they do it through proper assessment and they include CPI in there, where Canyon Creek pays all that. Arroyo Estates, I believe, doesn't pay that because that's still part of the old pre-Prop 13 days. So I don't know. I feel for the residents of that area of the community, but that was kind of something they took on when they purchased a home in that area. Like I said, I'd love to find a creative way where people would seem more fair and equitable to everybody. If you can think of a way, as you can see, I'm all ears.
Yeah, are you done?
Yes.
I appreciate the lecture.
No lecture, no.
No, actually, that was a lecture. There wasn't anything there that was really constructive. I appreciate the lesson, which I'm very much aware of how California taxes work and how they go. I only made the point that the ongoing maintenance, I'm not talking about how Central Park was built. I appreciate that. I'm very aware of that history. I'm not talking about when Centennial Park was built. I'm talking about the ongoing maintenance, and the ongoing maintenance comes from the general fund, is my point. I'm fully aware of how assessments work, and I agree. The CPI was not included. No fault of mine. Definitely no fault of, you know, most of the members of the residents right now. California breeze. But that being said, yes, should it be corrected? Most definitely. Is there opportunities there to fix it? Most definitely. We have a process to do that. I think now when we're looking at opportunities, I only brought up the other points to make it clear to the public, because this is going to be very big news that if yourself and the fellow council members, because I'm not going to vote for it, vote to do anything close to closing a park in California, particularly with everything going on. And that's just ludicrous. But that being said, I mean, I agree. We need to find creative ways to find funding. We need to find creative ways to potentially cut costs. As I look at the list, almost every one of these involve safety. And, changing, maybe the only one changing landscaping from, weekly to bi-weekly might be the only one that might, not be safety related. Everything else there's safety involved. And once again, this council votes to, go for any of those items that have a safety impact. Good luck to you. That's my comments. Thank you.
Any other comments? So let's go.
No, I'd like staff's recommendation to perhaps get some volunteers to help with the maintenance of the park and who knows, maybe even assisting with tree trimming. We have many residents who work in that field and who may not live in California Breeze, but live throughout other parts of our city that I'm sure would be willing to step up under some direction from city staff on how to trim those trees. So I think looking at those things that, we can have others do. Rosa's come up with some ideas in the past on how certain things can be taken care of, but I agree, definitely not to close the park. I agree with Scott. That would be something that, for many of the kids, that's where they go and enjoy an afternoon, and parents with their children, their toddlers, enjoy the park. So really, it's really tough.
Point of clarification, I too don't want to close the parks. I mean, I think some of these other things we can work around somehow. And I believe, Councilmember, I don't think any of us wanted to close the parks. I just think we have to be creative. I agree with everyone that we have to be creative on how we come up with an idea. We have to cut somewhere, So I don't know if we're going to be able to come up with a solution. That's my question.
Pursue.
No, like I said, I'm not in favor of closing parks, but I am in favor of looking at creative ways. I think if they were to come back with a more robust suggestion list, it would be more helpful to us. It doesn't have to be just 10,000. If we can cut 15,000, good for us, And but I'm like the rest of us. We don't want to close anything. I think we just need to look at creative ways and be that as it may. That's it.
Well, and Mr. Franco, I want to make it clear, I am not for closing the park. Trust me. I walk over there on a pretty frequent basis, but I am concerned. When I brought this to Mr. Dobbins' attention a number of times, unfortunately, they planted, I think, the worst trees on that side of town that they can be. They're not only lifting sidewalks, they're lifting asphalt. So yes, it's a maintenance issue because I can drive anymore, but I still walk, and the last thing I want to do is knock my teeth out as I'm walking in that part of town. So yes, I agree that those safety type items have to be taken care of because I'm like anybody else. Yeah, not only for myself, but I'm thinking of the kids that, gosh, they're always running. For whatever reason, kids seem to be always running. But when the sidewalk is literally lifted this high, I think, we can repair the sidewalk. But more importantly, I think at that point, we need to remove that tree because if we do it today, it looks good for a year or so, and there it comes back again. I've seen that over at the KMB, and like I said, I think sadly to say, and this is a sad comment, it's probably the worst subdivision as far as trees go. So I'm hoping the staff is hearing this so that when we look at what was being planned for the new subdivisions, I think Sunrise Ranch, or not Sunrise Ranch, excuse me, Canyon Creek is probably the best, well-designed tree situation of all of our communities, because even on this side of town, so far, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5 trees I removed on my property, but they were really old and they were lived through sidewalks, so. I paid my $150 to remove them, and I haven't gotten around to replacing them because I can't find a tree that would be deep rooted. My wife thinks that, flowering, what do they call those, crepe myrtles? I don't, I'm not ready to plant another tree and lift that sidewalk again, because then I'm responsible for it. Solutions, we gotta come up with something, because you know what the budget is, we all know what the budget is. Where are we gonna get that money? I don't know. I don't know. Mr. Rodriguez,
no,
you've already
no.
made your comments. Yeah, I'm sorry,
Quiet,
I gotta stay
quiet.
quiet. Rosa, please. So at this point, I mean, I thank staff for their due diligence and their work. I'm looking for other creative solutions, but like I said, one of the things I'd like to suggest to staff is that whatever trees are really causing major damage, instead of just working around them, remove them. I mean, I love trees as much as the next guy, but if it's gonna plug my sewer line, it's gonna lift 2 feet on the street. Why do I want that? Why do I need that?
Okay, so if I could summarize, then the consensus clearly that we heard was nobody's interested in an alternative that closes the park.
No.
Right.
And that
Correct.
you're asking staff to go back and then come back with a sort of a plan for ways of cutting the costs right now, right?
Correct.
So.
Would you agree with that with Mr. Frank?
Anything that doesn't involve safety impacts, so to the point of
Oh, by,
trees and buckling sidewalks, asphalt and
well, I said,
curbs and sidewalks, yep.
I'm part of the Shoelace Express, so I
Yep.
definitely agree with that,
Yep.
ability to commute anywhere in town simply by walking there, but I'm
Yep.
gonna do it safely.
Yeah, I also do want to add that even if we were to reduce staff and maintenance costs, safety is always a priority. So we've mentioned it before, if there's a tree branch falling or a crack that we can fix easily, then we would take care of that either way. Even if we reduced staff maintenance cost of it. So, sounds like in terms of direction, Mr. Rodriguez, what I'm hearing is let's look at really maintenance costs and a reduction of that, again, and not compromising safety, but not looking at closing the ballpark. Is that correct?
Maybe if we had
Or
had
any
a,
part of the park, yeah. But the ballpark was the only part that we would even consider just because of the conditions it's in, but, heard loud and clear, yeah, and that's not,
and you
not
maybe that,
something we're recommending at this point.
yeah, and maybe that is something to put back on the parents if somebody's willing to step up, because I mean, certainly if I had, my little ones playing at Meyer Park, I would definitely step up and say, I'll cut the grass, I'll seed it, I'll do whatever I can to hopefully maintain it a little bit better, but I can't even cut my own grass nowadays, so sorry about that. But yeah, if staff could come look at it again, and like I said, if there's creative ideas, I'd like to look at things outside the box of what our normal, okay, the sidewalk's lifted, let's cut, repair it, make it safe. But is that a long-term safe, or is that a day it works, for a year it works, and then it comes back up again? I just don't want to keep repeating the same thing over and over. And I agree with you as far as the, that park over there, it's, honestly, I think it's overused, but how do you stop the outside teams coming in? And who is patrolling that? You've seen this, there's a lot of Salinas teams that come and use that area. How do you stop that? Okay,
I think we've got adequate direction.
Yeah, that's plenty of direction. This is just the first report or the first run at it. I definitely agree that it's fairly high level, and what staff will do is come back at your March 3rd meeting with a lot more information and detail.
great, thank you. All right, moving on, sidewalk and street tree policy.
More street trees. Mayor Rios, council members, let's see, I think what we have for a sidewalk and street tree policy needs to be updated and be made clear. And one of the comments that City Attorney Mike Rodriguez made after reviewing the packet is, right, and I'm paraphrasing, is Patrick, looking at the municipal code, we require, let's see, if you have a tree, you need to, and you want to remove it, you have to put it back in, but there's no requirement to plant a tree. And in my opinion, you know, every house, every private property household should have a street tree. We should be a city of trees. But anyway, I digress a little bit. So, and I also want to add, just off the top of mind is, you know, Marisol Gomez, our Public Works Administrative Assistant, says this is her least favorite topic when residents come to City Hall and ask a question, is to clarify. And among the things can be a property owner who wants to do the right thing knows that, or finds out that they need to come in and pull a permit. And then they can basically point out, but look, my neighbor cut the tree down and, you know, they didn't ask for a permit or permission. And so it's something, you know, to manage like any city. So again, you know, what the city's policy for years has been that the abutting property owner is responsible for maintenance in front of their sidewalk. And that's due to the California Street and Highway Code section that's listed 5610. And most cities follow this. And I won't read it, but basically, you know, in the Streets and Highway Code, it makes the private property owner responsible for the the upkeep and maintenance of the sidewalk and the in front of their house. And yes, one of my things when I explain this to property owners is, all right, I understand you didn't put it in. I understand it went in, you know, 40 years ago, and either it's uplifted or something's happened, and unfortunately, this is the policy. And basically, you know, at the end is, you know, I'm going to be asking for council direction similar to the last item. What do we do about this? And then, you know, I list regarding, you know, I kind of say these things go hand in hand, right? This sidewalks and planting and maintenance of the street trees. And, you know, I list in here that, again, the street trees are required under the municipal code. As you already heard, they don't require the planting of new trees, just the replacement if you have a tree. I think that really needs to be clarified as far as a policy. And that's of course in your municipal code. So that would be, I believe, an ordinance would have to, the ordinance would have to be updated. I think the last item in the staff report, item 3, is that, you know, we could develop, you know, we can develop a program in the subdivisions that have assessment districts with a decent funding amount. That's the Cipriani and California, I'm sorry, the Canyon Creek and Cipriani subdivisions to use assessment district funds for sidewalk repairs and to remove and place street trees. So generally the street tree is either in the parkway strip, which is between the sidewalk and the curb, or it's immediately in the front yard if the sidewalk is if the sidewalk abuts the curb and gutter. You know, basically it's, this item's all about updating our sidewalk repair policy. Do we leave it the same as it is? And then what do we do regarding street trees? Do we modify the ordinance to require all private property owners to have a street tree if they do not have one currently? That concludes my brief presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up to the public first. So anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time.
No.
No onrush to the podium, okay? Stella, do we have any comments via Zoom?
She's to your left. She moved.
She moved.
No comments via Zoom.
Check it out. Mary, any comments via email?
Mary's no longer
Oh,
here.
Stella's also Mary, I apologize.
No
Man,
comments.
Dual function.
No comments via email.
Thank you, Stella. I apologize.
That's okay.
One day, good Lord willing. Anyway, we'll bring it back for council discussion. Council, we could be here all day and all night. I have, like I said, I don't think there's a tree out there that won't lift up a sidewalk, but maybe you guys are fortunate enough not to have a tree lifting up your sidewalk.
No. But I have some comments.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Silva.
So I looked over some of the approved city trees, and I noticed that some of them are not trees per se, but more like bushes. Because I tried to look them up online as I saw them, and I think like the New Zealand Christmas tree. I think it looks more like a bush. And I would think that most of us want trees that can provide some sort of shade when you park on the curb next to a tree. We don't want to have to open the door into a bush. That would be my personal preference, not to open it up. Also, I know that the magnolia trees that we have kind of scattered around town, they're messy.
And they lift sidewalks.
And yeah, well, just about everything on the list is gonna lift sidewalks. I mean, my house, my mom's house, we had some of the original ones that were planted probably in the early to mid sixties. So that makes it probably over 60 years old. And yes, those lifted sidewalks, they were messy. The oak trees especially, they sweat, and when they sweat, they leave stuff on your vehicle. When the oak worms come into, whenever they happen, every 20, 50 years, whatever it is, it's horrible. I mean, I have 2 stumps in front of my house right now. I don't remove them because I don't know what to replace them with, because I like the magnolia the way it looks. I just don't like the mess it brings. I get the stuff from across the street, so it all comes into my front yard. I looked at some of these. I did like the tupelo tree, but again, I don't know how tall it grows. Are we required to buy these through the city, or can we go to somebody local nursery like Bouquet in Salinas and make purchases, or can we do them online and plant them ourselves? Do I need to have a permit to remove those stumps and then put a tree in its place? Those were original oak trees. I don't think they were the live oak trees that were required that if you take one out, you got to plant 10, which is, I think, part of the state ordinance. So again, I don't want to have bushes suggested to people and people put them assuming they're going to be trees that can provide shade. And these pictures, they really weren't true to like the one tree, the oak tree, everybody knows what that oak tree looks like, okay, but it goes out. It doesn't go up in shade. I want to see trees that go up and provide some shade. I think that's what most residents would want. And like everybody, we don't want anything that's going to lift the sidewalk and or the curb and street. So, I mean, there's a house right around the corner from my house. It's on Center and Second. It's probably got a lift of about a foot, maybe, give or take. Jason probably passes it every day on his way home or his way to work. I think many of you know where that house is. I can't believe it. I drive by sometimes and the people are parked there and their car is parked on the curb, but you know, it's like a foot up in the air. So I want good recommendations that our residents don't have to worry. If I get this one, is it going to grow into a nice shady tree, or is it just going to be a bush and then I can't get out of my car, or my passenger can't get out of the car? So that would be a point of clarification on those things. I saw one of my neighbors recently took out their sidewalk, probably, I don't know, maybe a good 10 feet or so, so that they could re-put a nice flat sidewalk in front of their house because their tree had lifted it up. And is that what we're all going to have to do eventually? Are we going to have to replace our sidewalks? Because I know at one time we had our youth council members. I mean, this is back in the Jeffrey Alvarez. He was one of the first ones, and I think his summer project that year was to go around and identify areas in the city to shave down those areas of sidewalks that were kind of lipping up a little. Well, guess what? Those sidewalks that he helped shave down are now starting to lip up a little bit again. And that's been a good probably 10 years or so, give or take, 8 to 10 years. So we need to take a hard look at all of this and provide the information to our residents. What is the estimated cost if I had to replace a sidewalk in front of my home from this property line to that property? What's the going rate? How much are we expected to spend? And, you know, I see trees being trimmed right now on Fifth Street last week. I'm sure those were city contracted. It was up and down Fifth Street from about Center towards the high school. I saw they were red and white trucks MP something?
They were working for AT&T,
Okay, so they
putting
were,
in new fiber.
they were
optic
trimming trees on behalf of AT&T?
in order to install the overhead wire.
Oh, okay, well, I saw them out there. And again, I don't know who these people are. I just assume that they're contracted by the city. So I think if we can have information available for our residents, what's the cost of removing a tree? What's the cost of replacing that tree? What's the cost of fixing a sidewalk? What's the cost? Is the cost to repair a curb, is that, I would think that would be the city, the curb and the street, which should be the city. And if it's the city, then that one house over there has been shortchanged. They have not, that's been going on for years. So what's good for one has to be good for all. And all the information has to be shared to all our residents.
So to address some of your questions, the property owner replaces the tree, and it's entirely up to them as to who do they hire to remove and replace that tree. What we've been doing is issuing, because they're in the city right of way, we issue a no cost encroachment permit, so they at least know the standard rules for working within the city right of way. This tree list needs to be updated, and will be updated. What else? And yeah, it's just back to, and you heard it already, is this goes hand in hand. Generally, the uplifted sidewalk, clearly it's caused by tree roots, and it becomes more than a larger effort than just removing the concrete, putting the concrete back. It's dealing with, all right, what's causing this? And yes, you're fully aware there's a tree root, and trees from 20 years ago and 40 years ago, we were not as knowledgeable about uplifting, the roots, right? We want roots that go straight down, not out and all that. So, this is the kind of thing regarding updating the street tree list is, I coordinate with Smith and Enright. All right, so what are the tree varieties to use that will not uplift sidewalks? So again, staff, again, want to present this, we get calls on a regular basis about this. I want to come before the council with this and basically get the feedback, and we're getting it as far as, all right, what to focus on to update.
And I think if you were to provide a list of trees, it should include, if there's foliage. In other words, if those trees are going to shed their leaves every fall, or are they going to be evergreens? I think the resident has a right to know what they're going to be putting in and what to expect, if they're going to need to rake up leaves, by the bushel full. If this is not the correct list, then we need to get a correct list.
This is the current list.
Okay, well, we need to update it.
Yes.
And I think that we need to also consider, even if we were to try to consider the people who are doing the pollinator garden, the master gardeners, I don't know if they're on contract or if they're volunteers, but ask them, what do they suggest? I mean, I'm sure they know what kinds of trees, since they know what kinds of plants to suggest in our pollinator garden. I'm just throwing that out. But again, I would hope that we could see trees and not just a picture of a few leaves, because I have to go online to see what this particular tree really looks like as a tree or a bush. Like I said, this New Zealand Christmas tree looks more like a bush and not really a tree in my brain. So, thank you.
Right.
Okay, I currently have a birch tree in my front yard, and it is dead, we think. So I'm going to have it removed. So the reason I have a birch tree is because when we planted it 35 years ago, I asked permission of the city if we could plant a birch, and they said yes. Now, birch trees do not go straight down. I have come to find out. They go out there, but I do not have an uplifting of my sidewalk. So my question to you would be, would a resident have the opportunity or the option to ask if they can plant a specific tree? Because at that point I don't even know. And what you're saying, according to this report, we have to replace the trees.
Yes.
And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to, because of the root system that is occurring from all the other trees that are in my yard now. Everything that I've planted, I've tried now to do minimal, more like a bush so that you don't have that extended root system. So that's my question. If a resident doesn't, because I know there are some houses that don't have the trees. The ones that are in my subdivision are those pear trees, I think, yeah. And those things drop leaves like crazy, but so do birch trees. So that,
good wind, this literally split in the mid.
they do, they split. And that was my other question. Okay, let's say hypothetically, because this did happen. Someone next door parks their car on the street and my next door neighbor, or I park my car on the street and my next door neighbor's tree breaks and the branches hit my car and ruin it. So that's the responsibility of the resident?
Right. Gonna turn to city attorney.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought, but I just want to clarify. That's a big deal because I know that there have been people that have had that happen to them. Yeah. Okay, thank you, thank you.
That's why I tell my neighbors, park at your own risk. Any additional comments on this side?
I just have a question on number 3. So the staff will develop a program for Canyon Creek residents. So I live in Canyon Creek, so will I have to recuse myself again, Michael, on this issue because I have a tree I need to replace.
No,
So,
I think everybody here
I
is
know.
a tree issue.
yeah, okay.
I've got a couple of questions and, if it works out, I think I'm gonna have a winner, but we'll see. So, my home, my wife was into wisterias. Wisterias, when they bloom, are a beautiful looking bush, right? But they can go crazy. Wisteria. So I have a little play area that it's dear to me. And my sisters, when we first moved there, gave me not only the arbor, but gave me 2 wisterias. Well, over time, those wisterias got about this thick and grew over the top and literally crunched it. I came up with an idea and I ran it by my wife and she goes, well, it's gonna look that ugly. Why not? Try it. So I got a wisteria in the front yard and it was looking and working great. It was up to about probably 8 feet tall. Then the last great wind and I had it perched up with post and I kind of created a arbor setting so that it would go up and out. Worked great until that wind and just snapped those posts like they weren't even there, right? Just gone and it blocked the whole driveway. So at that point, I was like, just cut it out. I don't want that thing there anymore. And I just couldn't let it go because it's such a pretty little thing when it's handled property. So I came up with a wild idea and she bought into it and I'm hoping that it works out well. Is I built an artificial metal tree. Right now, it looks ugly as sin. And I'll admit, it looks ugly as sin. But once that wisteria grows up and over and it actually creates a canopy, I think she's gonna be the envy of the neighborhood. But that's still out there a ways, because it's gonna take a while for it to grow up. But once it grows up, I think it's gonna look gorgeous, because wisterias, like I said, I really like the way they look. Matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who keeps telling me, how'd you get those grapes to plant over their arbor there? And I'm like, they're not grapes, they're flowers. So is that a possibility if someone got creative and created a tree of that type?
Community Development Director Tavin, what do you think? Because this is on private property.
Now, again, it wouldn't have the root system. So it would be lifting those sidewalks.
It's. That doesn't lift up sidewalks, doesn't litter, doesn't spray oils and things on your car. Yeah, well, what I'm finding interesting is the anything goes kind of policy in our tree ordinance. Tree policies are classically, let's give this boulevard a certain look, let's give this neighborhood a certain look. And when you can just choose, anything that looks like a handful of gumballs,
you're not really, why do you have a tree policy at all if you can plant anything everywhere? And they're messy, so I think we can, selectively borrow from other cities that have got good lists. Mike made a good point here, it's even those vetted lists, he doesn't know one that's really worked out once, once the trees have lived a long time. But, what do we want to achieve? Do we want to achieve a certain look on a street? Or do we just want safety and ease and not to have, safety expenses? So we can readdress it. I've worked in many communities.
Well, and I'll tell you, the original California oak tree is a gorgeous tree, but it requires a lot of maintenance. There's a couple at Central Park. There's one right in front of, the community church where the, Friday giveaways are. I have one right across the street at 306 Day Street, and it's gorgeous. I love that tree. But so far, year to date, I've spent about $15,000 in trimming that stupid tree, but just, I'm sorry, it just frustrates me, but Harold made it very clear that there's a huge fine if I choose to tear it down, even though the city house sewer line was pinched by one of the roots. Okay? And so the city spent, I believe the last number I heard was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $15,000 to cut the root and redo that whole sewer line. So between the city and me, we definitely have a big investment in that tree. I actually suggested to Harold, I have no problem, bring a backhoe, tear that sucker out, and we're done with it. And it's funny, because he showed me an article, some Yahoo out in, I don't know, Markham Ranch, Carmel Valley, decided he was gonna do likewise. He got fined by the state $350,000 for removing that old oak tree. Much as I'd like to remove that oak tree, that's way more worth than that whole property is worth, so, that, I guess I'm gonna have to live with that oak tree at least for the foreseeable future, and probably invest another 15,000 in keeping it trimmed. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but an oak tree of that type, tree climbers cannot go up and spike it because it'll kill the tree. They have to trim it. But even a piece of log, no bigger than this, and about this big, literally if it fell, would dig a hole right through the roof like this. So they literally have to tie things off, do the cut, and bring it down. And you can only cut, I think it's 15% of a tree at a given time, or else the same thing, you'll kill the tree if you do more than 15%. So I have to pay these professional tree trimmers that get up there on their hoist and tie themselves to the tree and then start cutting. It's actually kind of, guys ever want to see a show, stop by and watch. When they drop those logs, the tree does this, and they're holding on for dear life. But they bring that piece of tree oak down. I've got a big pile of oak, but it's certainly an expensive pile of oak. So Patrick, for myself, I would love whatever suggestions you come up with. Now, I know that we've worked on getting tree root barriers, but I can show you numerous locations, and I know even California Breeze, they installed root barriers. Didn't look like they even worked. I mean, if they pick up concrete, what's rubber? Right? So, I mean, maybe there's something new out there. Maybe a little more research before we delve into who's responsible, who they can do it. All the trees on Fifth Street. That was a grant that Mr. Lopez, our last public works director, was lucky enough to get all those trees. And they're beautiful. Lots of nice shade. And I love the shade now that I burn when I go in the sun. But if you go down Fifth Street, everywhere those places are, you're kind of doing this. Because the sidewalks are lifted.
So this,
Rios, yeah, staff will come back with an updated street tree list.
Okay.
yeah, I was just gonna add that this is helpful because the policy on the books is really outdated. And so staff needs some clarity as well when we're getting calls from, various residents about exactly what you guys are asking. So let us refine it a little bit more, come forward, maybe look at a different tree list and then come before you. in the future.
I'm with Mrs. Silva on the magnolias, beautiful tree, gorgeous trees. We actually planted one on way inside of a property and lifted up everything. Ultimately, my wife's like, okay, cut it down. It's pretty, but it's lifting everything, including the foundation. I mean, Salinas went through that whole thing and I can't think of how many trees. Maria probably would know better how many trees had to be replaced and sidewalks replaced. So, yeah, so if anything, I would not like to see any more magnolia trees in town. I have neighbors that must be 2 or 3 blocks down, but their leaves end up on my grass.
From the Catholic Church.
Is that from Catholic Church? I wouldn't doubt it, the way the wind blows around here. So magnolia trees out. I mean, I'd love the California oak trees, but they take forever to grow, but they really are deep rooted. And they're messy.
One thing that we probably should do.
And acorns.
is the preferred tree. It's in the ordinance now? No? Resolution?
Well, then maybe that's the,
I'll double check. I mean, if it's in the ordinance, it's come out.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it seems like every 10 years or so, somebody says like, oh, this is terrible, we need to do this, we have to do this. Oh, it's a terrible list. Not to be a list of. That's great. We'll look at it.
Thank you.
well, there was an oak tree, I know there was an oak tree that was recommended by PG&E, and yes, they were great. They don't really grow that high, but they definitely lift up sidewalks. And I remember discussing that with Carlos. I said, PG&E make you that recommendation? Why didn't you even listen to those guys? They're interested in not having to trim trees. That's why they're recommending those trees. And the acorns are horrible. Tripping hazards, safety. All right, moving on. Gonzalez Youth Council.
Good evening, council. I had an idea regarding the, for the park maintenance. I was wondering, do I need to send an email or can I share it right now?
You can share it right now. I think that's, if you have an idea, I'd love to hear it.
So I know that, they're starting this year, not for me because I'm a senior, but they're starting to implement hours for the students now. And regarding maintenance, I was wondering, maybe we could involve youth for like, for example, cutting the grass, mowing the grass, maybe trimming bushes, picking up trash. Maybe that could be something that the youth could do with maintenance. But that was just my idea. And regarding oral communications, just wanted to do some quick updates on the projects that were going on. We have the housing project that's currently in the works and the education project that I'm leading, which is almost close to concluding, but I can pass it to Valeria to further up.
As for further updates, the JOC is gonna have another meeting this Thursday with the city departments for another sit test at the community center. And that'll be from, I believe, 3 to 5 or 3 to 5 this upcoming Thursday. And yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to council boards and committees. I'll start with TAMC. At TAMC's meeting was mostly dedicated to the Excellence Awards. Thor Park got a number of them, a number of residents. And of course, they highlighted the safe routes to school. Each community was recognized and presented a resolution. I got to be in a few pictures because Gonzalez was part of that. And we did have some committee members go up and receive that resolution with the new board chair. And then there was quite a bit of discussion on Toro Park. It sounds at this point that we're gonna turn that back over to the county for them to work with the local residents as to how best to mitigate the traffic flow in the morning so that they're not congesting the 68. That's why originally TAMC got on board, was because of the congestion that was being created by people trying to route themselves through Toro Park and coming out the other end. We kind of came up with some solutions that seemed to have worked, but now the TAMC is going to hand it back directly to the county because that is a county area. So hopefully they come up with some very innovative ideas. And I know that it was highly noted that the safety of the children was priority number one, and that simply has been achieved. Kids are a lot safer going to school, so that was a big plus. Mayor Select Committee, we meet this coming Friday, so the only thing I had is what I had at the last council meeting, which was the discussion of is the member appointed, specifically the person or the city? And so it was determined at the last meeting that it went to the city because Mayor Craig got off and she was part of LAFCO. And so Mayor Donahue, in the meantime, is going to continue to represent the Mayor Select Committee on LAFCO. I believe we are going to have that as a point of discussion this coming Friday. So we'll see where it goes. And then we have Salinas Valley Recycles.
I asked Mary to distribute our meeting highlights to everyone. I think you have them all in front of you. Just the highlight is that we were able to elect our officers. We had to wait for Salinas to send in their various delegates that are going to represent after their election. A couple of their members dropped off our board. So Gloria De La Rosa has returned. She was just elected and she has returned to represent the city of Salinas. We also have Jose Luis Barajas representing the city of Salinas. And we now have Marcy Jones representing the city of Greenfield. We provided some grant awards to several nonprofits recently. And I have spoken with the Salvation Army was one of the recipients, and they serve our people here in the Valley. And I have spoken with the city manager to see if there is a location here in town to provide them a place where people can come and get their needs met. And so I reached out to Maria from the Salvation Army, and I'm waiting to hear back from her. So hopefully we can find some place that it's convenient for her to set up shop here. And then you can go through the rest of the stuff here. So again, with the election of officers, there's a rotation in our executive committee there. I am now serving as president. Glenn Church, our county supervisor, is vice president, and Gloria was elected to be our alternate vice president. Our next executive meeting will be this Wednesday in Salinas, and then our monthly meeting will be here in our council chambers on February 20th at 6 p.m. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Oral communications. Ms. Worthy, would you mind starting this time?
I actually don't have anything this evening. I think we've all been speaking enough. Thank you.
Ms. Silva.
No, I don't know if it's really replying to some of the comments that were made during public comment earlier today. And it's disappointing that people feel that we're not caring enough about what's happening. So that disappoints me. And I won't go into detail, but I just wanted to say a couple of things about that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Orozco. Oh, I'm sorry, let's go this way. Mr. Funk, and then Ms. Orozco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing additional tonight.
Okay. Ms. Orozco.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. The community meeting that's taking place this Friday at the school is in collaboration with a number of other meetings that are being held throughout the county. There's a coalition group that was formed under the leadership of Supervisor Alejo and Supervisor Lopez. So there are many groups that are meeting in the cities throughout the county, basically to inform residents and to answer any questions they may have. There was a couple of us who were putting together and working to put the meeting together on Friday, but there are also attorneys that are going to be attending who will be able to provide residents with information. There are many residents who are already in the process of establishing legal status, and with the many changes that are taking place day to day on immigration issues, there's just that real fear and that real concern. So these forums or community meetings are co-sponsored by many different groups, larger groups that are, larger meetings that are going to be taking place and forums. Sometimes they're co-sponsored by cities, school districts, and also they do have law enforcement attend the meetings only to provide information about, we still want residents to support, to report any crimes, because that's always a fear. It's an opportunity for residents to get just basic information. There'll be discussions about family plans that families need to have in place should they be separated from their families. Forms that they can fill out as to who has the right to pick up your children from school, who can go and deal with your personal, financial issues. So there's just a lot of questions that folks have, and having attorneys here that are immigration attorneys helps to answer some of those questions. So again, it's an invitation for folks to come and get answers to their many concerns and their questions. And also, if we could end our meeting today in honor of some of our residents who passed away recently, Sandy, who worked at the post office for many, many years, Señor Jesus Valdez de Leon, who worked for RC Farms for over 35 years. I'd like to see if we can do that when we end our meeting. Thank you.
When we end our meeting, we'll bring that up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of things that I spoke with Carmen about. One of the things that I don't know if you guys get the comments, but I've certainly gotten a number of them, and not only from Gonzales residents, from other residents in South County, that our Gonzales Ball is really looking kind of ratty. That's what I told him. I said, well, that costs money to clean. He says, well, what about all those antennas that are up there? Shouldn't they be part of that cost? And I don't know if that was even part of the discussion when we renewed annual fees, that they keep and maintain it in a presentable manner. I think that would have been logical and fair, because they, unlike us, don't have to go out and bid. They can send their own private contractors at a much more reasonable price to get that done. Again, I don't know if that's even within the scope of the.
Mayor Rios,
Yes.
if I could address or respond to that. Something like 12 years ago, the city entered in 10 or 11, 12. City entered into long-term maintenance contracts. And so I know it was 12 years for the tanks that we have that really hold water, the 1 million gallon and the dual 3 million gallons. And so they come out and inspect and clean the tanks every year. And I don't know the details, or I have the agreement and I know what they're supposed to do. What's interesting is with those agreements includes a maintenance for what I call the elevated tank. And that actually was a 10-year contract. And as I understand it, looking at these agreements and talking to, and I, talked with Carlos Lopez about this a while ago, is, what the city paid sort of in advance for some of this, was kind of a sinking fund. They paid for major maintenance, and they will be this contractor, and I think it's USG. We're on like the third different company name that has this contract. And I'm dealing with a new contract person as of about 6 months ago. They will be renovating and cleaning the elevated bowl in 2025. And I pinged him in November when he said, we'll be doing this, and they will be cleaning it. And I don't know to the extent, because it's not super detailed in this agreement that we have. So what are they going to be doing? But they will be cleaning the elevated tank this calendar year.
Great.
And the last gentleman I was dealing with this company said, oh, the ball looks great to us. I was like, no, the city paid for this and you will perform this work. So now we have a different client contact at this company. And that was his response in November, is we will be cleaning the ball in 2025.
Great. Yay. Then the other item that I commented to Carmen about, we have acknowledged our youth, we have acknowledged our veterans. And you know, Blue Zones is so high on the longevity part of our community, the folks that have grown old in our community, that basically we are a blue zones already. I'm blessed to know that next door to me was Mrs. Carol Hampton, who lived to the ripe old age of 103 and still took her daily walk grudgingly, but she took her daily walk around the block. Her caretakers were maker, and she'd always complain. And then I know that I was asked, our two council people, they have moms, and one is 94, the other was 95. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
92.
Oh, excuse me, my bad. And then there's a number of other folks. I know there's another gentleman on 8th Street that's over 100 years old. And I would like to see if we can't maybe present them with a resolution of appreciation for not only their longevity, but ask them their secrets of life. What kind of water are they drinking? What, maybe the type of whiskey? I don't know.
They drink the Gonzalez tap water.
The Gonzalez tap water could be the secret. Oh, I'm sure, without a doubt. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's something more to throw on the diocese, something to feel good, because, you know, we get lambasted here all the time, but it'd be nice if someone would say, hey, that's a nice gesture. I mean, I went to the veterans and they loved what we've done in behalf of the veterans. So, you know, this is, well, I'm not gonna name names, but there's a lot of folks that are getting up to that ripe age. I'm hoping to be one of them, but who knows? Not the way I walk and lack of sight. One of these days I'm gonna run into a power pole or something. But until then, we'll keep ticking. All right, if there's nothing else, then we're gonna move into closed session. And Michael, would you please?
See if comments are there.
Go ahead.
Free, so just, the, last year we received money from the Blue Zones Project for a mural project, and I'm gonna start asking the community about, for feedback so that we can start on that mural project. I've got the, artist lined up and is ready to get creative. So you'll be seeing something go out to the community regarding what things remind them of Gonzalez, what makes Gonzalez special, so that he could put something together for us. And then chair yoga is back in full effect. We actually have both the Alliance on Aging and the Taylor Farms Family Health Wellness Center contributing to put multiple classes of chair yoga on a weekly basis. So they'll be starting Wednesdays and Fridays at the Taylor Farms Family Health and Wellness Center from 9 to 10. And then Saturdays, they're already ongoing as well. So there was so much excitement around chair yoga that we've got a full scope of it coming to the community for the next few months at least. And then earlier today, the police department put out a statement regarding some of the stuff that is going on. So I don't know if Chief, you wanted to share a little bit about that statement that went out earlier today.
Yeah, I just want. Yeah, I put out a news message today regarding immigration, police department's involvement. It's on our website, police department's Facebook page. You know, it simply states this. No, it'll take a couple minutes, I guess, to read it. The federal government recently ramped up enforcement of immigration media reports by ICE enforcement activities have been in media on a daily basis. Naturally, this has created fear and concern for members of our community. To answer questions and alleviate fears, we wanted to share some information with you. The Gonzalez Police Department does not enforce federal immigration law. Immigration violations are the responsibility of federal authorities. We do not stop, detain, or arrest people for immigration violations. We do not question people about their immigration status, nor do we keep immigration records. To this date, we have not received any requests from federal agencies for assistance with enforcing immigration. As a rule, the California Values Act, SB 54, prohibits our department from assisting federal agents conducting immigration operations, with exceptions made for operations involving dangerous and or violent fugitives. We abide by the provisions of the California Values Act. Our goal is to foster an environment where everyone can feel safe and secure regardless of immigration status. We want people to feel comfortable reaching out to us without fear of repercussions related to immigration status. The Gonzales Police Department works to build community trust and believe it to be fundamental to providing quality police services. We want all our community members to feel comfortable reaching out to us for assistance or report a concern. Everybody is a valued member of our community regardless of immigration status. We encourage you to educate yourself on rights. Additional resources to be located at Know Your Rights. And I included a link to the County of Monterey, Know Your Rights. So to say we're not doing anything, we are. You know, I should put this out last week, but I wanted to wait to see how this is playing out. You know, the temperature, so to speak. And I just had enough. We've been fielding calls continuously for the last several weeks. People are fearful, and as much as we try to be specific to each individual phone call, they just kept coming. So it was time to put something out. So I put this out actually before the council meeting 4 hours ago. So I know City Hall staff have also received calls regarding it. I'm sure you guys could ask questions also. So that's the police department staff.
Will you be able to make it to Friday's meeting, Chief?
Try my best to, yes.
Okay, I'll be there, 5:30. Okay, we got 2, probably 3. Is that a conflict if 3 of us are there?
Just don't stand in. You're not participating in the.
We're just listening.
Standing up, yeah, you're just listening, ready. You're in another, meeting that's gonna work. Don't sit all together.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
no.
I agree with Councilmember Silva. It did hurt when we heard these comments tonight, you know, because this is our community and we love everybody here. So, I think for many people, they're going, hopefully, you know, we all pray that it's the big cities are going out. We're little, so we would hope that it will. Yeah, well, yeah.
Bang for the buck is better in a big city than a little city. I mean, what time do they can collect? Yeah, it's crazy. Mr. Lisco, before we go into closed session, would you please remind us of, I know Sandy was my neighbor, but I didn't know the other gentleman, so if you could say those names again, please. Hyman. All right. No misunderstandings. Thank you. May they rest in peace. Michael, would you please read the closed session item?
So we do have a closed session item. The city council will recess closed session pursuant to government code section 54956.8 to give instructions to the city's negotiator concerning the exchange, lease, acquisition of property located at assessor parcel number 020-041-016-000. Instructions will include price and terms of payment.
And we stand adjourned, we'll be moving into closed session, so we can clear the chambers. We appreciate it. Good night, everyone.